This will be part one of a two-part video of my backyard orchard. I'll start with this Pakistan mulberry tree. It put on a really heavy set of fruit this season, and I just recently started to harvest some of the fruit off of it. Here's a quick video of the first fruit that was harvested this season. It's a pretty good sized fruit, and they're very, very tasty, really sweet tasting fruit. This tree started to develop fruit back in late March, and the first fruit was harvested late April. And it's got a few others that are starting to ripen, but as you can see, there's still plenty of fruit left to be picked. And here's my avocado. It's been shedding some of the leaves, last year's leaves, and starting to put on some new leaves. It's put on quite a few and good size, and they're very healthy looking. It still has some avocados that I haven't picked yet. I picked one several months back, and it took a really long time to ripen on the counter, so I decided to wait a while longer before I pick any more. And I just recently picked one, so hopefully it won't take too long to ripen. Then I'll come back and pick the rest of these off the tree. And here is my Australian finger lime. As you can see, it's looking really bare. We had some strong winds that came through our area, and it stripped all the leaves off of it. I didn't see any new growth coming in afterwards, so I decided to tip all the branches. As you can see here, I just went and cut a little bit off of most of the branching in the hopes of trying to encourage new leaves to start forming. Instead, what happened was it started to push out a whole bunch of flower buds, as you can see here. It put out quite a bit of flower buds throughout the tree, and I didn't expect that. I was expecting leaves to come in, but the flower buds start to develop right away. And just recently I just noticed that it's now starting to push out a really small amount of new leaves. Here, if I can get it to focus, here are some of the new leaves that are starting to come in. It doesn't have a whole lot of them forming, but there are a few throughout the tree. So here's a few more. Hopefully pretty soon it'll start to develop more, and some of those flower buds will form some good fruit. They won't form very tasty fruit without the flowers, or the leaves. So hopefully I'll get it to leaf out before it stops blooming. And here are my Jujube trees. This one here this one was the first one to start to leaf out. It started to leaf out in early March, and you can see it's putting on quite a bit of flower buds. There's several throughout the tree. The other one here in the back, it didn't start to leaf out till right towards the end of March, but it too also has some flower buds that are forming. Hasn't leafed out quite a bit as much as the other tree, but it has produced several flower buds on it. And here's my flame seedless grapevine. It's getting out of control. It's got quite a bit of clusters forming throughout the vines. This one first started to leaf out in mid-March, and then right around early April it started to develop some of the clusters you see here. It's got quite a few, and they're putting on good size. Some of them recently started to flower, but this vine is it put on a lot of growth. Here you can see it's taken over the trellis. I may have to come back and trim some of the vines before it gets too much out of control. It's put on quite a bit of height. There's several more on this other side here too. Hopefully a good portion of these will reach maturity, so I'll get a good harvest off of it. But it's coming along fine. And here's another one of my grapevines that I have growing in a half wine barrel. I have two more that I'll show you in a bit. But this one here started to develop, it started to first leaf out in early April, and then towards the end of April it started to develop these clusters you see here. It's got several of them scattered throughout the vine. The leaves are looking really healthy as well. And here's another one of my container grown grapevines. This one also started to leaf out in early April, but this one doesn't have any clusters that have formed yet. Hopefully they'll start to come in pretty soon. And this other one here, this one started to leaf out in late March, and then in late April it started to develop some clusters. There's a few that are hidden here. There's one there. There's a few more. It doesn't have a whole lot, but it does have a few of them at the early stages of development, so it's doing well. And here's my Rio Red Grapefruit tree that was recently transplanted into this wooden container. It's been dropping a lot of the older leaves from last season, but now it's starting to put on plenty of new leaves now. They're looking pretty healthy. This tree used to be in a different section of my yard, and I kept having trouble with black mold developing on the leaves, and I think that was partially due to the fact that it was close to my sprinklers in the backyard. So I moved it over here where it won't get any of that water on the leaves. So hopefully it should cut down on the black mold issue. And here's my starfruit tree that's looking a little bare. It's lost several leaves. It was recently transplanted to this wooden container here. Every season during the cooler months, this tree will drop a good portion of its leaves. They turn yellow and eventually they drop off. But it's starting to, as you can see now, it's starting to push out some new leaves, so it shouldn't be too much longer. It should be flush with new growth. Majority of all the branches have new leaves that are forming, so it won't be too long before it's fully recovered and is flush with new growth. And this is my Surinam Cherry tree, which was transplanted into this area a few months ago. That black container you see in the background there is going to be utilized as a rain barrel. Going to capture all the water that's coming off of the drain pipe you see here. Shortly after I had transplanted this tree, the drain pipe used to go all the way down to the bottom, and all the water was flowing into where the newly tree was planted. And all in this corner, it was flooding this whole corner. So this tree was starting to get drowned out, and the leaves were getting all wilted, and I thought I was going to lose this tree, but as you can see, it's putting on new growth now, and leaves are recovering. It's still not fully recovered, but it's definitely doing much better than it was before. It's got plenty of new growth, and there's also a couple of fruit that is starting to form. I'm going to go ahead and let these mature. If it were putting on a lot more fruit, I'd go ahead and take it off and let the tree focus on fully recovering before I allow it to set a heavy set of fruit. But it should recover fine. I think I caught it just in time. And here is my black mission fig, which is growing in this container here. I've never really been happy with the growth habits off this tree. It really didn't seem to be putting out much branching, although the leaves that it has put out are a good size and healthy looking, but it doesn't have a whole lot of branching. So last season when it was dormant, I cut it down here. It used to be fairly high up to about here, this branch, but I went ahead and cut it down in order to see if I can get some branching. And it did appear to work, because there is now a few leaves that are starting to come out. So hopefully I'll be able to get it to put out more branching. Next season I'm going to go ahead and cut the other one that's the longer branch you see here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down and hopefully it'll do the same as this other branch here, and I'll get this tree to branch out a lot better than what it is now. And here's my Barbados Acerola Cherry tree, which was recently planted in the ground here just a short time ago. Shortly after transplanting this tree, it started to lose all its leaves. This tree was heavily root bound when I transplanted it. And it looks like it went into a little bit of transplant shock. And I'm keeping a close eye on this one. It's still alive. I did the scratch test all the way up here in the top, and it's going to be hard to see on camera, but it is still green all the way up to the top up here. So the tree is definitely still alive, but it just hasn't put on much growth. It looks like it might be starting to push out some growth here, but I'm gonna have to keep a close eye on this one, nurse it along, and hopefully it'll fully recover. And here's another one of my trees that I recently planted here in this area. This is my Jaboticaba. Shortly after transplanting it, the leaves started to wilt and turn yellow. I went ahead and gave it a iron and zinc treatment, and it looks like it's helped it out quite a bit. The leaves aren't quite as yellow as they were before, and they're definitely not wilting anymore. So it is starting to recover. It's doing way much better, and it's pushing out a little bit of growth there, as you can see. So I'm sure this one's going to do fine. I'll keep an close eye on it as well, but it should fully recover. And this is another one that was recently planted here in this area. This one also went through a little bit of transplant shock. It lost several leaves, and you can see it's looking a little bare, but it's starting to push out new growth, and it even has a couple of fruit that is starting to develop. But it's got plenty of new growth that's coming on. So it's definitely showing signs of improvement, and this is another one that should fully recover. And here is my burgundy plum tree. This tree just refuses to set any fruit. It's flowered plenty of times, puts on quite a bit of flowers, but it never fruits. It's supposed to be a self-pollinating variety, but it just has not set any fruit. It was one of the first trees planted here. It's been here several years now, and it just refuses to produce any fruit. And here are my lychee trees. These are the emperor variety. They've been in the ground for almost a year now, and they're starting, some of these flower buds here started to bloom. I've never had any fruit set off of either of these. They're still fairly young trees, but they're doing well, and both of them have put on a good amount of flower buds. Hopefully this season some of these will set some fruit, and I'll be able to sample the fruit off of these. And this is my Longan fruit tree that was recently planted here in this area. There used to be a strawberry tree that was planted here, but unfortunately it died. I'm not sure what happened to it. There were some strong winds that came through our area and it was stripped of all its leaves, and it never recovered, and it wound up drying up and it died. So I went ahead and planted this one here in its place. I had a really difficult time transplanting this tree. It was growing in a 15-gallon container, and it had really good sand-based soil mix, but it was just really difficult getting it out of the container. I usually try and get the trees out of the container without having to cut into it, so I can take the containers back to the nursery so they can recycle them. But this one was just so difficult trying to get it out. I wound up having to cut it, and even by doing that, it was still difficult to get the tree out of the container. Like I said, the nursery had used really good soil mix, but they just buried the trunk way too deep. As you can see here, it was buried at a good 4 to 5 inches. That's way too much soil on top of the root ball. So I went ahead and stripped off all the topsoil all the way down to the root ball. It's got some new growth that's coming in. I'm not sure if these are early signs of flower buds forming, or if they're early signs of new leaves that are starting to form. I've never grown this type of tree before, so I'm not really sure, but it does have new growth that's starting to form, so it should be fine. And here's my gold nugget loquat. I'll be transplanting this to some other area in my yard. I'm not really sure where, and it probably won't be until next season, but it's doing well growing in a container so far. Last season it did get hit with some black mold on some of the leaves, and I wound up spraying it with some liquid copper fungicide, and it really helped it out and cleared up all the black mold. These leaves here you see are the flush of growth that were affected by that black mold. They came out and they were fairly deformed after I got the black mold off of it. But the flush of growth that came in after that treatment, as you can see, the upper leaves, they're like this one here, they're a lot healthier looking. So the liquid copper really helped it out, and now all the new leaves that are coming out are looking much better. And here in this group here are my fig trees. It's a Peter's honey fig in the front, blackjack fig the back left, and an Excel fig on the back right. they're all doing really well, putting on some really big, healthy looking leaves. This is the Excel here, and this one also has some good sized leaves on it. None of these have any figs developing yet, but they're all looking really healthy. Here's the blackjack. These aren't quite as big on it, but they are, it's got quite a few branches coming on, and it's doing well. I thought this might have been a fig in the back there forming, but it wasn't. But they should be starting to develop fairly soon. So hopefully I'll get a good crop off of these. And over in the back there between the palm, I have my dragon fruit growing. I have 6 plants back there, and I've only been able to get 1 dragon fruit so far. Hopefully this season they'll do better. Well, that'll be the end for part 1 of this 2-part series. I should have part 2 ready to go in a few more days. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I'll be uploading videos on a regular basis so you can follow along and see how my backyard is progressing. So please consider subscribing. And as always, stay safe, grow your own, and thank you for watching.